right, Chris McClune here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this episode of our podcast. Today, my guest is Jamie Little. He's the Director of Market Development for Rescue Intelitech. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what Rescue Intelitech does today, some of its products, some risks from their perspective that firefighters face that many people don't think about, and where we can get more information on what Rescue Intelitech does, how to get involved with Rescue Intelitech, and how to find out more about the products that it produces. So, Jamie, thank you very much for joining me today. To get us started, could you just talk a little bit about what Rescue Intelitech does and why it is important for those who may not be familiar with the company yet?
Yeah, so Rescue Intelitech is a company that manufactures cleaning equipment for firefighters. So our bread and butter started out originally back in 2012 with an SCBA washer. And the benefit of that is it's not just for SCBAs, it's helmets, boots, gloves, all your traditional items that can't be washed inside of a traditional extractor, right? As time goes on, we realized that, hey, we do a really good job at this, but why not expand into the rest of the cleaning, the decon room, if you will, or into other cleaning equipment. So, within the last couple of years, we've come out with a extractor line, and we've come out with dryers and so forth. So realistically, we're just a holistic approach to the decon room in providing cleaning equipment.
So how did Rescue Intelitech get started into this? I mean, most of the time, a company, it's founded, you're thinking, okay, here's a problem that we've identified and we want to provide the solution to it. So how did Rescue Intelitech get into this end of the business?
Sure. So this is actually kind of a fun story, at least how I've been told this story over the years. And the funny part is our competitors actually try to use it against us, but we own it completely. Going back into 2011, 2012, when the company was started, they're a Swedish company, and we had a fire department that was way up near the Arctic Circle in Sweden. And one of our sister companies makes commercial dishwashers. So they got a phone call one day. Like I said, this is my understanding. This could be completely folklore at this point. But what I understand is that they got a phone call into tech support saying, hey, we need some more parts. Our washer's broken. And once again, this is a commercial grade washer, things shouldn't be breaking, or at least the parts that were breaking shouldn't be breaking. So the question was asked, what are you washing? And it turns out that it was a fire department that took an old washer and basically converted it to make it where it was compatible with their SCBAs and other PPE. And once again, luckily that guy who took that phone call was kind of smart enough to go, hey, wait a minute, I should probably tell my bosses about this. Fast forward a year or so later, they realized that, hey, there could potentially be a market here. And at the end of the day, it could be one of those things that could really help out the fire service. So they took that same original cabinet and basically redid the entire interior. They redesigned everything. They beefed it up. They made it firefighter friendly, because we all know there's no such thing as firefighter proof. And from there, they launched a product line. It took off. And then fast forward a few years later, they decided, hey, we're doing really well across Europe and Scandinavia. Let's bring it over to the North American market. And that's how it ended up making its way here.
And you mentioned a number of different products that you produce. Is there one innovation, one Rescue Intelitech innovation that the company's most proud of right now?
Yeah, so like right now, one of the best things that I'm proud of, is more or less because I was involved with it, is we just came out with a brand new detergent. It's called Puro C87. For years, we've been using a third party. Basically, we took a formulation to them. They were making it for us. It worked great. However, through science and doing the research and everything, we realized that we could do better. And we just launched this new detergent within the last couple months. And when I say it's truly making a difference for the fire service, it truly is. The way I can explain it is we took the same test that NFPA 1851 calls out for turnout gear cleaning with extractors with coats and pants, and we applied those same sampling techniques to the SCBA and put it in our washer. So we actually have a quantifiable test method to actually see what we're removing. And at the end of the day, we were surpassing the national averages that ISPs were obtaining in extractors in 40, 45 minutes in an 8-minute cycle. And all of that was just because we changed detergents, and we were able to get something that's, a little bit more It actually, the pH is lower and all that good stuff for the new 1850 standard and all that. But at the end of the day, it performs better, which is our main goal, is to give the fire service something that we know works and performs to the best of its ability.
Can you give a few examples of what it is removing?
Yeah. So yeah. The 1851, which any day now it should become 1850. That test is based off of two main things. There's others involved in the testing, but the two main things are heavy metals and SVOCs. Um, those were specifically selected going through the process for gear cleaning just because, one, they're going to be around after a fire, like they're pretty much there every time. A lot of those SVOCs are also PAHs, so it's stuff that people are very common and familiar with. And then the other part of that is they were selected because they're hard to remove. So by selecting certain metals and certain SVOCs, now we have a way to, one, verify that we're removing those effectively, but then two, we're making sure we're removing the harder stuff to get out of the gear. There's no point of testing something that's super easy that you can just like spray it with a garden hose and it comes off. You want to get the stuff out that's embedded into the gear itself.
So you mentioned a number of products in the beginning. Obviously, the detergent that you just mentioned, it's obvious to see where the how that detergent has helped fire departments with those very specific areas of specific contaminants that it's looking to remove. But you have a whole host of products that you offer to fire departments. When we think about just how important decon and contaminant removal has become in recent years. When we look at new fire station construction and design, there are specific rooms that are being dedicated to decon now, where before you even re-enter the bays or the living areas of the firehouse, you come back from the call, you're going through that decon area first to doff the gear, to get it ready to be cleaned. So just talk a little bit about how Rescue Intelitech products, the whole breadth, the whole line, have helped fire departments over time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like I said, our bread and butter is our SCBA washer. That's what our main product line has been for the last decade plus at this point. Bringing in the extractors and the dryer just creates the entire product portfolio, if you will. And, at the end of the day, there's a ton of manufacturers out there that are, either converting residential extractors or washers or converting, other commercial grade extractors and so forth. They're all out there. But where we really get to have fun is with the programming and with some of the other features that we have. Coming from the fire service, I know that the main thing that every firefighter wants is to get their gear, whether it's their second set, or get it clean and get it back in service so they can get back onto the street. That's what we all thrive for, as when we're riding rigs, right? So when it comes to the SCBA washer specifically, it gave the fire service something that they've never had before. Extractors have been around, whether or not the departments used them, that's a different story. But extractors have been around for years, and some way to dry them, whether it's through natural ventilation with fans or some sort of drying cabinet, those have been around for a while now too. But having a way to clean your SCBA and put, to be able to have a way where you can achieve a clean cab concept without removing the SCBA from the cab is something that a lot of fire departments are striving for. We've heard the horror stories of, a department switching to clean cab. They show up on a scene, there's people hanging out of windows, and now you got to make a choice. Do I grab my PPE or do I go and save a citizen, right? So you're having those split second decisions because the equipment's outside the rig. And understandably so, some fire chiefs don't want to go that route. I get it. But by being able to clean your SCBA effectively and put it back into the cab, it eliminates that because you're able to switch into your second set of gear, which should be clean, and also have a clean SCBA. Now you've achieved that, maybe not clean cab concept, but at least a cleaner cab concept, which ultimately at the end of the day, it's all about exposures, limiting the exposures and getting it to the point where the firefighters are at least doing the best they possibly can with the job. Because at the end of the day, we still have that job to do.
Talk about the SCBA cleaner a little bit. So you mentioned with the detergent an 8-minute cycle. How many SCBA can be cleaned at one time with the product? What is that cycle time like? What are we looking at in terms of being able to get get that SCBA back in service as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an 8-minute cycle. One of the cool things we were able to do with on the NFPA side is this last edition of 1970 to hit the streets. All the manufacturers are now required to have or design the SCBA to have removable straps. So all your soft goods now can be removed and washed in a traditional extractor. Most fire departments, when they're buying new SCBAs now, they're also buying a second set of those soft goods so they can do a complete switch out and get them back in service faster. That is probably one of the biggest things that the biggest changes there. Now, what does that do for us? It makes our machine even better. Now that you're able to remove those soft goods that can go inside of a traditional extractor and clean the nose, and that's what the extractors are designed for, to clean those textile, soft goods. Now, all those all those small nooks and crannies that are on the SCBAs, now our washer can get into them even better. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone involved. But with that 8-minute cycle, you're getting in, you're cleaning off everything that's in there. Hopefully you're doing decon on scene, so you're not washing off a ton of insulation or drywall, or, you name it, sheetrock, screws. We find everything in the bottom of our machine. But, hopefully you're doing a good decon, you're coming in, you're getting that good clean, and you're getting your SCB back in service. And we wash 2 at a time. So in theory, you can do a complete truck, a complete engine company, depending on your staffing levels. And in less than 20 minutes, you're able to remove those straps, wash it, put the dry straps back on, and get it back onto the rig. During that time frame, that's when you're switching into your second set of gear anyway. That's when you're going in and you're showering, getting on a clean uniform. You're doing everything else that comes along with that exposure reduction program while it's doing that 8-minute cycle anyway.
And I think that's always the challenge, I think, and maybe where, fire departments might at some times maybe not watch as quickly as possible, because they are concerned about the length of time it's going to take to get things back in service. Now, let's talk about the extractors real quick, and then we'll get into the dryers as well. So with the extractors, how many sets can they do at once? You said it's an 8-minute cycle time, I believe, with the new detergent. So, they're getting cleaned pretty quickly and to a standard. And then, obviously then they're going to go into the dryer. But we also, a lot of times, especially on the volunteer side, you're not sitting there waiting the entire time. You're not on duty necessarily to be there when the bell rings on the washer to go in and take them out and then put in the next set. How many sets can they do at once? Is there anything station wise that needs to be done? Maybe infrastructure wise, power, water, and anything in that respect. Yeah, so I guess there's 2 questions there. Yeah, what do we have to do to put the extractor in service? But also, more importantly, what can it wash? How many sets can it wash at once, et cetera?
Sure. So let's address the first question first. And actually, one of the things you said I want to address too. The 8-minute cycle is for the SCBA washer. The extractors are programmed, and honestly, it depends. All of my wash data comes from working in the cleaning service. I've washed plenty of sets of gear in the past, so it's all based on stuff that I know. And those cycles, depending on if you're washing outer shells, the inner thermal liners, whether you're washing hoods or whatever the case may be, obviously those wash times are going to be a little bit different. Typically 40, 50 minutes, give or take, right? Mm-hmm. With the extractors, it depends on the size. You could go buy a 20, 25-pound extractor that can do 1, maybe 2 sets of gear that, for smaller volunteer departments, kind of right in line, right? On the other side of that, you can go as high as 40 pounds, 55, 85 pounds. And I know some of the ISPs out there are even washing like 100-plus pound, big commercial grade extractors that have obviously been reprogrammed down to 100 Gs so it doesn't destroy the gear. So, it really just depends on what your needs are. If you come to me and say, hey, Jamie, I would really like to wash, 1 engine company at a time, our staffing's 4. Okay, cool. So that means you have, basically 4 individual sets of gear to wash. And, especially once you separate them with liners and shells and all that good stuff. So it really just depends on, as far as the size, based on your needs and how quickly you want to get that station or that battalion or however you have your operations set up to get it back in service.
Okay. From your perspective, what's a big risk firefighters face that people don't often think about?
Honestly, ourselves. And I say this because I'm just as guilty of it. Going back to when especially when I first started out, I wanted to burn my helmet up as crispy as I possibly could because when you show up to the station, the guys look at you and go, oh, okay, he's been in it before, right? And we're all guilty of it, right? Sometimes you don't open that veil up, you wait a couple extra seconds in there. The problem with that is a good friend of mine, his name is Ryan McGill. He works with the department I used to work for. He has a saying. He says we need to be aggressively smart. And the idea is we want to go in there, we want to push, we want to put the fire out as quickly as possible. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the faster the fire goes out and the faster we get out of the IDLH, the less exposure we have. When it comes to gear cleaning, once again, we're kind of our own worst nightmare. Just like you were just saying earlier, the turnaround times is honestly what plays into it. If you're one of those departments that only has one set of gear, well, now you have to wait till the end of that shift. Or if you're lucky, maybe you have a loaner program, but getting a loaner program to come out to you at 2:30 in the morning is easier said than done, right? So you're probably waiting to the end of that shift, depending on what shift cycle you have. Either you have 24 hours before you come back, you have 48 hours before you come back. Some of the lucky ones have 72 or 90, pushing into that 90-hour mark before they have to come back to work. So it's getting that stuff cleaned and getting it back in time, because at the end of the day, we still need to have it to run calls. So that's one of the main things. And it's great to have local ISPs. It's great to have these, I know there's mobile gear cleaning services out there like Red Line, for example, that are going directly to the station, trying to get the gear washed and get it back in time, within a couple hours, basically. And that's the way the market's moving. We know we need to clean the gear. We know we need to turn around as fast as we possibly can. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue we face is the firefighters ourselves, being able to say, hey, yes, my gear is dirty, getting past that whole, oh, it's just a kitchen fire, or whatever the case may be. Well, just a kitchen fire is one of the dirtiest fires you can run chemically, so just because the gear doesn't look dirty doesn't mean it's not dirty. So that's just my little 2-cent rant.
Well, in addition to that, I guess, or maybe that's it. What if there was one takeaway that you would like listeners and viewers to walk away with today? It's kind of like in the back of their mind the next time they go down to the firehouse, whether it's responding or whether it's just going down to maybe clean the gear. If there's one thing you'd like them to have in mind, what would that be?
Yeah, just clean your gear. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Now, granted, when it comes to cancer prevention, it's not just cleaning the gear, right? It's exercising. It's, making sure you're eating healthy. It's, yes, cleaning the gear. It's getting your physicals, early detection. I had an instructor, I think it was for Officer 1, when I took it way back when, and he said, preventing a line of duty death is like all you gotta do is take one domino out of the line of dominoes, right? And you can prevent that death. And the same is true with cancer. At the end of the day, if we're doing the little things, all the little things add up. Another analogy I've heard is the drops in the bucket, right? Every time you drop, every exposure is one drop in the bucket. And if you could just do one thing, now your bucket's not going to overfill. Now you're never going to get that phone call from your doctor saying that you need to come in and talk. And at the end of the day, look after each other. There's nothing more powerful in the fire service than a little bit of friendly peer pressure. Be part of that shift that says, hey man, your gear's getting a little funky. Let's get it washed. Because at the end of the day, we're all tired of burying our brothers and sisters. Just Monday, I was at the Firefighter Cancer Support Network golf tournament here in Virginia. And, as you're driving down the golf course, all you see is the faces of our brothers and sisters. And ultimately, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of going to funerals and hugging each other. And, we're all just over it. So have that little bit of peer pressure, in a positive way. And let's do better as a fire service. That's ultimately what, if anybody could take anything away, let's do better.
Well, again, Jamie, thank you for sitting down with me today to talk about this. But also, if there are those who would like more information on some of what we've spoken about today, or need to get in touch with the Rescue Intelitech, how can people learn more or get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest thing to do is go to our website, rescueintelitech.com. Other than that, we're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, for example. With that, Rescue Intelitech North America, we have our own page here specifically for the U.S. and Canada, where we're pushing out everything we have going on, events, best practices, anything we have, stuff like that. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
All right, perfect. Well, again, my thanks to you, Jamie, for sitting down with me today. This is an incredibly important topic, one that really can't be spoken about enough. So, thank you again for sitting down and talking about it. Both not only Rescue Intelitech's end of it, but also sharing your insight as a firefighter as well. All of our podcasts are archived on fireapparatus.com/podcast. So if you want to see any of our previous podcasts, please visit our archive there. Again, this has been Chris McClune with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment, along with Jamie Little of Rescue Intelitech. Have a good one, everyone, and stay safe. Thanks again, Jamie.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.